Hi, this is Siofra Brad again, and this is Siofra's Magic Alcove. So, several of you have requested that I do another video about wands and how to use them. I'm so sorry I didn't think of that. I could have sworn I had done that already, but hey, you get focused on the subject at hand and you forget what it is that people are looking for or haven't asked yet. So I think this is a great opportunity to do another video about wands. Why not? I have lots of them and I love to talk about them. So, first of all, if you're going to have a magic wand, you need to determine what kind of wand you want to have. And you should know by now, I have a lot of different kinds. I have what I would consider the standard magic wand, which is my first wand. And I never make things the standard size. Traditionally, who knows if it's really traditionally or not, but someone decided at some point that what we needed to have was a wand is supposed to be like the length between your elbow and your finger. So along this line in here. And that is the right determination for the length of a wand that you should make. I never have been typical in anything that I've done, so this is really not much of a surprise that I sort of went off field, and I hate cutting things once I have them. So my first wand is a fairly long wand. As you can see, it's a lot longer than my arm. I'd say at least double the length. So yeah, definitely longer than my wand. So I feel like the wand is supposed to be an extension of your will and your energy. And so when you're holding it in your hand, if you are right-handed, you would hold it in your right hand when you're using it. If you are left-handed, you would hold it in your left hand. Anytime I say hold it in your right hand, I mean your dominant hand. So, definitely realize that throughout the video and any of the other videos I may have done about this, that it's the dominant hand for you that's the important piece of that equation. Since I'm right-handed, I tend to say that. So, I've talked about how I've picked the wand, and for me, a living tree are the kinds of wands I have. So for me, each wand is like an individual, a personality. It has a unique spirit to it that I'm working with. So I'm a cooperative witch or whatever. Cooperation with the living things seems to be my path. Doesn't have to be yours. So however you have gotten your wand, um, assuming that you have made your wand, then you have to charge up your wand. And we do have a video on charging up objects. And, whatever kind of wand it is, you want to charge it up with the specific type of energy. If it's like a specific type of wand or general wand, it's just, your energy. And you do that by constructing it, by holding it, by rubbing it, by sleeping with it, thinking about it, connecting with it, making it yours. Some people might use blood to make sure that the tool is identified just with their energy, because blood definitely carries a pretty powerful signature. For women who are menstruating, menstrual blood is a pretty easy source of material to get. You don't have to cut your hand or your finger, and whatever you do, never cut your palm like they do in all the TV shows. Why they're doing that, I have no idea. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, just, poke your finger like you would for a diabetes blood test or something like that, and you can get enough blood. And that just sort of, makes it more clear to the universe that this is your tool and no one else's. And so once you've done all that and connected with it and so forth, and then charged it up, with a general wand, what you're charging up is just, this is an extension of me and my will. This is, I'm using this, if I use this to draw a circle, for example, then I would focus the energy visually, visualizing the energy going from your hand into the wand, and then the energy is coming out the wand at the end and makes like a light, shining, energetic thing in your mind. Unless you're really clairvoyant and it's the right lighting, you're not going to actually see a light coming out of your wand, but it becomes an extension of your energy, and by that, an extension of your will, and it helps you to inscribe magical symbols or circles or whatever it is that you might use in your practice in the spirit realm between here and there. Between the circle, the idea of the circle is you are creating a container for energy, an energetic container, and you're creating kind of like a bubble between the worlds. So you step out of ordinary everyday reality, you get a hold of that wand and start to transform your mindset and your energetic body into more of a magical reality. You draw an energy symbol or circle around you, and you create this in the mental and astral planes. You create this container for yourself. So that's one way that you use a magic wand. And depending on the type of wand, you can also use it to send energy to people, do healing work with people in person or whatever. I'm going to go through some of the other kinds of wands I have and how I would use their energy. So, a wand is going to be as powerful as your ability to understand the concepts and to maintain your focus and attention and to let it, allow it to absorb a certain amount of your energy in order for it to become functional. They can get strong enough that if someone else picked up your wand, if they were even the least bit sensitive, they would feel an energetic connection or like a tingling sensation. A lot of people that have bought my wands tell me that they pick them up and they tingle. I'm not trying to charge them up, but for me, the act of creating them is part of the process of charging them up, and it's like it happens automatically with anything that I make. I put energy into the object of what I'm making. And of course, this one had a lot of emotional connection to me with this wand because this represented the spirit of one of the oldest trees, oldest cedar in the forest where I lived. And they were going to be logging and cutting it down. And so I wanted to preserve the essence of that ancient spirit that had been around for hundreds of years, if not longer, um, and not lose that sense of connection I had with the forest when I was there. So that allows me to take that with me wherever I go, and holding the wand allows me to reconnect with that time in my life and that space that I was in when I, made friends with this particular tree spirit. So, like every other tool we have, it can be incredibly personal and generally should be. If it's a mass-produced item, if you're going to buy like a mass-produced wand of some kind, then you're going to want to do specific things to it that only you would do in order to make it yours. So, like say if you bought, I don't know, a Harry Potter kind of wand, or just someone who's like taken a lathe and made a fancy piece of wood or what have you, and you want to turn that into a wand, then I would, with that kind of an item, I would first banish the wood, and you can do that several different ways, like using the elements to cleanse it, and focus on getting rid of energy that doesn't belong to you, which would be the people who made it, the factory it was made in, the people who played with it before you bought it, the person who manufactured it, however that was made, that kind of thing, in order to uh, give it kind of an energetic clean slate. And then you could add stuff to it, like decorate it with something unique that has a connection to you or that reminds you of the purpose that you want to do with the piece. Oil it, you know, play with it, touch it, use it, sleep with it, connect with it on some level. Um, Consecrate it, bless it, and so forth, and then use it. And since any wand is only going to be as powerful as the focus, concentration, and will of the person who's using it, the wand itself is not as important as you. You know, you are the power behind the wand. It's an extension of your energy. It lets you direct energy in a specific manner. So to get to some of the kinds of wands and what I can do with them, to give you examples. So first, let's see this little guy. This is rosemary wood, and this is a talking stick. So that's what I made it for. I put stones on it, like I have a piece of kyanite at the top for helping bring clarity to people's minds and energy. I have tiger eye to help reflect away things that don't belong in a conversation. I have some rose quartz and I think some jade pieces, some hematite for helping people to ground. And it doesn't have to be this, it can just be a stick. But the idea of a talking stick is, again, this is not, this is a general kind of a tool and not just a personal tool, because it is meant to be used like in a gathering, in a meeting. And the person who's holding the talking stick has the floor. So it's a way of helping people to learn how to stay quiet and not interrupt, because that's a problem in a lot of meetings. Because the way the mind works, somebody says something, you connect that with something in your head, that connects back to a memory of something that happened to you, which brings up another thought, and you're not listening to what the person says anymore because you're off on your own thing. And then you want to like jump in and tell them what you're thinking about and what it made you think of and so forth, whether it really is relevant or not. So a talking stick or any kind of item that can be used that way is a tool to help people to focus on who is speaking and on the words that they're saying, and know that it's not okay for them to interrupt. And so that helps to short circuit some of that mental jumble that we all have to deal with, no matter what and how good we are. We all have that kind of potential. So this, and I charged this up to help people stay clear and to stay on topic, and to assist in those processes and to stay grounded, which is why I added the different stones to represent the elements and some properties, mental properties that I thought would be important. And your associations to that are going to decide what things you might use in a talking stick. Or, you know, in an emergency, you can just pick up any rock, you can make it a talking rock and say, okay, whoever has the rock gets to talk first. And it can really help to restructure the environment of a conversation and make it a lot more focused and attentive. So I didn't charge this one up in particular, but I did charge it up, you know. Not just for me, though, just for in general to help with that. And I used this when I was at the prison running a circle there for the guys. So, you know, to teach them how to do that and how to maintain composure and control over their mouth and their thoughts, and to be respectful of other people's thoughts and processes and right to speak and to be heard. So it worked really well for that. But like I said, you can take just about anything for that purpose. So let's see. Let's get this guy. So this is a banishing wand that I made. It's got yellow quartz, it's got ruby matrix and lapis and tourmaline, black tourmaline and amethyst and smoky quartz and carnelian and just all sorts of different things, and tiger eye all along it. And this I use in my paranormal investigations if there's something negative that needs to be banished. This is a banishing wand, and it's called that because that's what I use it for banishing. And the idea of how the energy works in this, instead of me taking energy, putting it through to push it out, it's more like I put the energy out in order to bring things in. So the idea is that I'm going to be pulling negative energy into the crystals here, and then they're going to flow down into the handle of the wand through all these different stones that I have, and then get caught in a loop when it hits the amethyst crystal, and then it ends up being like this. So the energy, the plan for the energy is that it comes in, hits that crystal, and then gets stuck in a loop. So it can't escape, it can't get out. Once it gets in, it's there until I release it. And so that's what I use that for. I've used it to dissolve shadow men or people, whatever they are, and sometimes discovered like human spirits under them, sometimes not. Any kind of negative energy, it doesn't have to be an entity kind of thing either. It can be any form of negative energy that I can pull in to this. And then I have it in a contained environment, protects me from it. I have the tiger eye right here in order to give a little bit of extra protection from it getting through that, so that reflects it straight back up too, in case it gets past the amethyst crystal. And and so, knowing the directionality of the energy and what I've programmed this object to do is like, that's what you're doing. You're creating a program, like a story program or whatever. You're telling the object when you're creating it, and you're making it, what purpose it has, what its job is, how you want it to function, how you want the energy to go in or out of the object, and that is how it turns into a useful tool. I love this thing. It works extremely well for a lot of stuff. I could probably use it to cleanse a house if I needed to, and it works like I intended because I'm pretty clear on the purpose for what I want. And the associations that I have with these stones are ones that I've come across in different cultures or different books or whatever, and that resonate with me. You can pick completely different things for this and be perfectly fine. It's not like this is a one size fits all, this is the only thing you can use. But I like using the rosemary. This is from my own garden. This is my rosemary bush. And you can see how nice thick piece of wood that it makes. It was a really large plant when it was harvested, when it decided to give up the ghost, as it were, ironically. So the use of this is in how it was constructed, how I made it, why I made it, and that's how it works. It's like I put this in my hand and I have an instant connection to the processes that I have put in place when I made the piece in the first place. So that would be how I use this particular wand. And as you know, I have a lot of different kinds of wands. This is like an elemental wand. This wand is made to work just with the water element. So if I'm doing magic, spell work, emotional work, whatever, that is water specific, something that has to do mostly with water. This is willow. It has pearls and stuff on it. I have like a seraphonite, I think this is at the end. And when again, as I construct it, it's like the tree, the wood that I pick, I associate with water. It was a tree that was, down. It is a water tree. Willow is very associated with water. And the stones that I put around it, the shape I put them in, make me think of waves and ripples on the water. The droplets I have hanging down, the blue lace agate that I have, makes me think of water, like solidified water, the pale blue that it has, the pearls, etc. I took it to the water. I had the local undines decide to bless it. They were very interested in this particular wand. I'm still learning better ways to use it. I can't use this for general stuff. This is just for water stuff, but water is a good healing element. So I might use this to help heal someone who has issues associated with the water element, like emotional trauma or something like that. Um, yeah, I mean, it hasn't come up yet, but you never know. I mean, that's how we learn, right? Situations arise, and then you go like, "Oh, I have a tool for that, and I could use that." I can use this to help bring rain, and we've done a little bit of rain work, not very much because I have my own issues around the ethics of trying to bring rain to our area in case it's taking rain from somewhere else, and is it in the best interest of the whole planet, not just my backyard kind of thing. But again, this is, in this case, I have put some silk around the bottom so that if I need to be separated from the water itself, I can, because silk insulates me from the energy. So when I hold it and getting in touch with it, feeling the energy of it helps me get into the right space and frame of mind. And that's part of the whole process again of energizing and using it. And again, the end of the wand is where the energy would come out, and I would like project the water where I needed it, whether it was up in the sky to try and pull water out of the air and into the, in making clouds appear so that there's more water up there, whether it's in the water itself for some other purpose, whether it's in a person to help them with some emotional healing, like I said. It's like it is specific to just that one elemental process. And so, and I had not thought of doing that until, one day the idea popped up in my head. It's like, that's how I work. I'm just wandering around doing stuff, and all of a sudden I go like, why haven't I done that before? I think I should do that. So I did. So I have 3 elemental wands at this point. I still have 2 more to construct. And each time yeah, that's the other thing about wands is they can teach you about the thing they're for. So each time I hold it, each time I use it, I'm connecting to the elemental kingdom, and it helps to get me in the right frame of mind if I'm going to be working with water automatically, because just holding on to it there's an energetic shift in my aura, energy field, etc. That happens, and in my mind because I've programmed it with my own brain and own associations and so forth, so I can shift my focus and concentration pretty rapidly by picking up a charged wand. So that would be how you use that one. So, like my planetary wands, I've just brought 2 of them in today because I think I have all 7 of the planetary wands constructed. And this one is the Mars wand, which has a lot of rubies on it to represent Mars, the planet, and ruby matrix kinds of stones. I figure it's got 2 prongs because it is 2 moons around Mars. It's got, different flat ruby stones in here, ruby matrix. Everything on it is got ruby in it for the association of ruby and Mars together. It's made out of ironwood for the element. I have not put any kind of a holder on this. I don't know if that means I just don't need it, or maybe I'll need it in the future. But, the associations that I have with this have to do with strength, protection, things of that nature. And so I discovered something new I could do with a wand, and so I had an extra piece of the ruby stuff, a pretty large one. And I put a pentagram on that because 5 is the number for Mars. And so that's why Mars is all about protection and everything else. And then used and charged this stone up with the energy that I've collected with the wand and connected to the planetary influences of Mars. And then it became a discrete portable tool. And I actually used this when my daughter had to go to court for a restraining order and testify. I gave her this stone to stick in her pocket to help give her strength and focus and say things the way they needed to be said so that she could get her restraining order and you know, and help with her nervous and anxious energy. So I'm now starting to do this with some of my other wands. Like I have like a nice piece of lapis that I'm going to do that with my Jupiter wand. I have a nice piece of moonstone I'm going to do with my lunar wand, and so this gave me some brilliant notions. And that's the thing I like about this work is because it really it teaches me things as I'm doing it. I learn more about the associations, the symbolism, my internal symbolism, you know, world that I have going on in my head, how to reach those different aspects of myself to give me the power, strength, etc., that I need to have in order to do it, and then to be able to connect with that energy of the planet and learn more about it. Because for me, the construction of the wand is a process of comprehension, learning, understanding, connection, and so forth with when I'm making it. And this is, since it's for protection in general and represents the pentagram is its symbol. I can easily use this to draw a circle of protection. I can use it to call in all the different elements, even though it's more fiery than of as far as the element it is most associated with. It still is more general in that sense of protection. So I can use it to cast a circle. I cannot do that with my water wand because it will only work with the water. It won't work with any other element, which was a surprise. I hadn't thought of that. And that's how I learned, right? My wand says, "What? No, you're not doing that. That's not working." And I'm like, "Oh, of course. Why would you want to call in the fire if you're the water? It makes no sense." So yeah. Anyway, so again, it's like projective. Since I've got 2 points, I generally use this one because it's farther away. It's sort of more, aimable, and I can like aim that. This is probably the closest to being the quote unquote proper length. I'm just like, that much away from it being the right quote unquote length. So it's like shortest wand I think I have. It's just like whatever. Um, but that's the thing is like holding it, attuning to the energy, focusing the energy, you know, drawing a pentagram with it in the air and using that point and then projecting it where I want it to go and that kind of thing is how you use the wand. Um, and you could use this for healing blood disorders, certain types of emotional disorders like anxiety, maybe a fear of something attacking you. It's possible that this would be a good tool for that, uh, to counteract some of those anxieties and that kind of thing. I'm still learning more all the time, but I'm pretty tickled. I like it, as you can tell. And then the other wand I brought in was another one of my planetary wands. Like I said, I have all of them now. And this one is sort of like, it's also sort of two-headed, but it's on either end. So each end has a different energy. This is my Venusian wand. And so I have 7 stones, 3 on this end, 3 on that end, and then 1 in the center that goes with both. Doesn't matter which way I aim it. And then each end has got a different color garnet. So I've got red garnet and green garnet. And I wasn't sure, it's myrtle wood. I wasn't sure exactly why I was making it this way. This is just something quirky about me. It's like there are certain things I can plan without a problem. But when it comes to making wands, it's a very intuitive process. It's myrtle wood. I had this myrtle wood for probably a few years before I knew what to do with it. Had to wait for it to decide what it wanted to be and what I wanted to work with and wait for them to be compatible, etc. So then after I constructed it, at first I thought I was just doing a healing wand, and I have used this a lot for healing. But then I realized it was a Venusian wand. I've got emeralds, rose quartz, cryoprase, and garnet are the stones. So I could get probably a good chunk of rose quartz and do the same thing with this as I did with the Mars wand. Like I said, I'm starting to explore that. I think that would be pretty, pretty cool to be able to like stick a wand energy in my pocket if I need it during the day. But when I started using this, I realized that each end had a different energy. So, like when I hold it this way with the red garnet out, so I hold it in that direction, um, then it works on the emotional body, emotional healing. And when I hold it this way with the green end out, then it works on physical ailments. So I've used this one um, a bunch working on people and turning it around depending on what's happening, or using both ends one after the other. And in this case, the energy, since it goes in both directions, it's like whichever way I'm pointing it is the directionality of the energy that I'm focusing it through. So the bottom one just sits there when I'm working on the top one, and vice versa when I turn it over. And so I would take this wand and put it on a person when I'm doing healing in person, and sort of project that energy, the healing energy, into their body. And people will have varying reactions to that energy when it enters them. Some people will have a very powerful and intense reaction. Some people won't notice much. It's going to depend on the sensitivity level of the person, what they're ready to accept, whether they actually, you know, have the capability of perceiving subtler forms of energy, because that's an acquired skill. Most people aren't born knowing how to do that. That's something that happens with practice. And just because you're working with something and you don't necessarily feel it in the beginning doesn't mean it's not doing something to you, to your perceptions of reality, and working on your astral body or your mental body or your physical body, and realigning things so that you get into a state where it becomes something that's impactful. So those are the ones that I brought to try and explain how you use a magic wand. Um, and there's a lot of people that never get into using wands at all. They only think of the tool, either the wand or the athame, as a tool for describing a circle, describing the circle in the air, and for calling in the directions. And they don't see any other reason for it. So I've sort of expanded the ideas, the possibilities of how you can use um, a tool, and how specific you can make a tool. And it has a lot more flexibility and variety to it than an athame does, because the knife is a knife is a knife. You might have a slightly different kind of handle. You could have it made out of different things, but the whole notion is it is a knife. That's kind of its protection, is being a knife and being a point, and so forth. This is a completely different kind of animal. And so for anybody who gets into doing wands, yay, join the club. And for those who don't want to, that's fine. You don't have to. It's you know not a requirement. But that's the thing I love about this path, is that there's, no matter how long I've been in it, and I've been in it for quite a long time, since I was sort of born into it, as far as like knowing I was a witch and having abilities and so forth. But I'm always learning new layers, and new, having new ideas and more depth to what I'm doing and what I understand. And it's a never ending process. There's always another layer to uncover and to discover as you're going through this process. So I don't think there's a wrong way to make a wand. You can do it from wood that you find that the tree has given you, a piece of driftwood that you find on the beach. Um, if you cut the tree, or you're doing trimming kind of thing, because trees need to be pruned from time to time. And it's like, all that stuff doesn't matter how you start to feel the energy and the connection. the idea is that we're a part of the planet. And these are part of the planet, and we're a part of the planet, and then we're figuring out how to like work together. So that's probably enough on this particular subject, but please ask me more questions because I've been at this for so long, I don't remember what I didn't know from long ago. And some of it I just always knew, so I don't know that other people need to know. That's why questions are good. And I really appreciate and value your questions, so keep them up. And thank you very much for watching our videos and for being a part of our community. And reach out to me at siofrasmagicalcove@gmail.com or friend me on Facebook. Just as an aside, if you have just started a profile and you only have 2 pictures on it and you have no other content, unless you send me a personal message through Messenger to tell me that you just started a Facebook profile because you wanted to send me a friend's request, I will not accept it because I'm like, I don't know who this person is. It's like this could be anybody, probably some Russian dude hanging around in his basement somewhere. Who knows? So I try to be cautious at least a little bit. So that's just something for you to know. So anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful week, and we'll see you at the live show. And blessed be to everybody. This has been Siofra's Magic Alcove, and I'm Siofra Bradigan. Blessed be.